try to use a range of techniques to engage the students. I think especially since it's digital right now, especially. I think that allowing for chat responses instead of turning on the video or even using audio is a good way to make people feel more comfortable. And I've noticed that potentially some more of my introverted students are appreciating the chat function during class. I know I would have. I was really shy as a student, and even if I knew answers, I wouldn't raise my hand and I wouldn't want to talk about it in front of people. And so I think that using some functions to just kind of make people a bit more comfortable with sharing what they think about certain class concepts and having discussions with each other is helpful. Additionally, I always try to get my students to apply the concepts they're learning in class to their lives in some form or fashion, which I think links or solidifies the concepts a little bit more for them, while also realizing that this is a really unique time and just providing grace and understanding to the teaching philosophy right now. I have learning objectives that I pose at the beginning of each new chapter or section. And I try to make sure to kind of briefly gloss over those at the beginning of a lecture or discussion, and then by the end I try to review to make sure that those main broad points are covered and that they at least have enough information to kind of go back into the text and read more about the different relationships and the different concepts and theories, but that I provide like a framework in order to kind of better understand the details. So kind of giving the forest and then they can kind of go in and fill in the trees, if that makes sense. I get a lot of joy with seeing people understand concepts, especially, and being able to apply theories to their lives, or point out something in the news that happens. We've been talking about diversity in healthcare, and seeing some news stories coming out from Canada. My students were aware of what the problem was, and we're also cognizant of understanding what kind of framework and what kind of factors would contribute to that kind of health communication behavior. I think I would like to spur their inquisitive nature. So I would like for them to be interested enough in certain topics or whatever areas they're particularly interested in, to really seek out information, to understand what the research says about that information. I think what I can't really teach but hopefully can instill within them is a curiosity, and if they have the ability to locate information and establish the relevance and the accuracy of that information, then I think that's an intangible that I wish that I could hopefully instill in them, is to look at things, to question things, to evaluate things with a little more critical of an eye than perhaps they have in the past. They're a little bit more cognizant of the different perspectives that can occur within this field, and the relevance and effectiveness of the different strategies that health organizations, public health, are using to implement some sort of behavioral change. they're able to evaluate that and see, does that really work? And if so, why not? Is it because they're not targeting the diverse audience that they're supposed to be targeting? Is it that they're using language that isn't understandable to the average person with this disease or illness? So I think they're more cognizant of understanding what the issues are and the effectiveness of campaigns against, or campaigns trying to promote healthy behaviors. I reach out to the student privately, of course, want to make sure that they aren't embarrassed or don't feel called out, but I like to personally message them and say that I'm either concerned about their attendance or about their lack of participation or grade or whatever the case may be. And I ask what I can do to help facilitate their learning experience. That I would do that regardless of the semester, but I think this semester especially is really important to reach out. There is such a sense of isolation and separateness that is happening just because of the pandemic. And so I think it's really important to touch base. Somebody might just be feeling really lonely or just really discouraged because of all of the circumstances that are going on right now in the world. And I mean, maybe health communication and attending a course Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings isn't necessarily high on their list of priorities, which I would totally understand. So I would try to find some common ground, try to encourage or motivate in some way, make the information more relevant to them, but also offer any sort of resources and help in order to get them on the same track as everyone else. I think that taking care of other people and checking in on people is super important, especially now. I do enjoy not having to drive to Clemson and parking and all of that. It's my first year as an assistant professor, so I haven't even done that yet. But I do appreciate having a smaller class. I think that is it would be a lot different if I had a class with hundreds of people rather than the 21 that I do have. And when I'm able to have a Zoom meeting with my 21 students, it's a lot easier to engage in meaningful discussion. And again, the chat feature I love, and I wish I'd had that when I was in undergrad especially and was really shy. I think that allows for uninterrupted speaking time and allows for everyone's voice to be heard, everyone's opinion to be counted. So I really appreciate just the affordances that digital teaching is allowing. I do miss seeing students face to face. I love being in the classroom, but at the same time, I think for now, I do embrace just what we do have, and we are blessed to have the ability to have Zoom and connectivity to continue people's education during a pandemic. I never require the students to turn their cameras on because it's a hassle. And if it's a morning class and you haven't showered or you haven't gotten out of bed yet, like, that's okay. And so I don't require that, but I do really miss seeing the faces of my students. But I think because of what this class entails, it's really applied. It's really about looking at situations and figuring out what the best options are, considering the research on these different areas. I think that helps alleviate that but I would really appreciate seeing some faces at some point. I do see faces when I check in on breakout rooms, and I'm like, oh, y'all, well, at least y'all are showing each other y'all's faces. And then they come back to the main room and they turn the cameras off. But I understand it's really taxing and psychologically taxing as well to keep your camera on, especially with Zoom fatigue and all of these things that are coming into play because of online instruction. I'm learning Spanish. So I have been working really diligently because of the quarantine. I'm on my 70th day of Duolingo for Spanish. I've learned 650 new words in Spanish, so that's fun. I've tried cooking a little bit, and by that I mean it's more than the baseline of 0. So I would guess learning Spanish and attempting to cook a little bit more since I'm in my COVID bunker apartment in Greenville, basically. So my research area is bullying, actually. I look at it as I have a psychological background. My undergrad degree, my bachelor's degree, and my master's are in psychology. Especially social psychology, so looking at how the situation and person attributes are interacting in order to create behaviors. And I'm looking at bullying from a communication perspective, looking at it as the sending and receiving and interpreting of messages. So I look at the way in which mediated communication allows for different types of bullying situations. So I look at the affordances of publicity, of anonymity, of shareability, these aspects of digital communication that are different than face-to-face. And I like to compare kind of face-to-face to more cyberbullying situations. I look at different cognitive processes regarding targets receiving bullying messages and how I might mitigate or attempt to mitigate the negative consequences that usually occur when someone is bullied, meaning that they usually have higher instances of depression, of anxiety, health in general. And so my research is looking at the way that certain messages and their characteristics and the environmental characteristics surrounding the messages are impacting the way they're processed and how that processing is linked to mental health. I'm just looking forward to being on campus at all. I've only been to the Clemson campus once in my life, and it was to get my office key and pick up my laptop. I would just really appreciate being able to tour it, to see more than Strode Tower, where my office is, to see people walking on like the promenade where the library and the football stadium is to the distance, to see what kind of food is on campus. I love to eat, so trying to see, so I'm excited about everything whenever it does fully reopen. I would have to say two things. My department is amazing. They are the friendliest, most genuine people. And my department chair, Joe Mazer, is an incredible leader for all of the faculty that he oversees in the Department of Communication. Just a really strong, empathetic figure that makes the faculty, including the 4 new people, of which I'm one, feel really comfortable and supported, making sure that we have all the resources that we need. So I really, because I had another offer, I had other on-campus interviews, but I chose Clemson because of the people in the department, the chair, and the opportunity for cross discipline collaboration, especially like with the psychology department, where they have the Old Bayes Bullying Prevention Center. That it will be something that I attempt to collaborate with in the near future. But it also, besides the people in the department and my chair, the other reason, or the other thing that I really love about Clemson is the students. Love about the students at Clemson is that they're super bright, they're motivated, and they come in with an inquisitive nature, and they're really respectful, not feeling entitled, which I think is something that is not the case when you see really intelligent students across the nation. I would advise them to kind of maybe meet with an academic advisor in order to establish what area of communication they're actually interested in, and figure out where you fall, where are your interests, because they can be cultivated and you can develop the skills needed for some type of employment in that area, but you have to know what area you're really gearing toward. I'm really happy to be at Clemson. I'm really happy to be teaching my health comm class, and I look forward to seeing my students from this semester face to face at some point, like on campus during another semester. And I look forward to a sense of normalcy as soon as it's safe to have it.